Just when Nigerians braced for steeper pump prices, an unexpected U-turn saved the day. But is the calm before a storm? That's exactly what's happening, as Dangote Refinery resumes petrol sales in naira, reversing a decision that threatened to push fuel costs through the roof. This dramatic turnaround didn't happen by chance. It came after high-level government intervention and a scramble to resolve crude allocation issues. Here's the full story, unpacked in 10 minutes, so you understand what's at stake for your wallet, the economy, and Nigeria's energy future. 1. The sudden suspension. A fuel crisis loomed. On September 27, 2025, Dangote Refinery announced it would suspend sales of petrol, PMS, in naira, citing that sales in the local currency had exceeded the crude volumes allocated under the naira-for-crude arrangement. The refinery claimed it was unable to sustain PMS sales in naira going forward under the current arrangement. This move immediately set off alarms. Fuel marketers warned of price hikes, and the public feared sudden scarcity. If sales in naira were halted indefinitely, marketers would have to switch to sourcing petrol in dollars, a shift that could drive prices well beyond reach for many Nigerians. 2. Government steps in. Intervention saves the day, for now. Within 24 hours, federal government intervention reversed the refinery's decision. Dangote announced the resumption of petrol sales in naira for both self-collection and free delivery orders. The official line, crude allocation issues were resolved under pressure from a naira-for-crude technical committee led by the chairman, Dr. Zach Adijiji, also executive chairman FIRS. Dangote issued a statement notifying clients that the sale of petrol in naira would resume immediately. The reversal spared Nigerians from a sudden fuel price shock, at least in the short term. 3. Why did Dangote want to halt naira sales in the first place? To understand the urgency, we need context. 1. Naira-for-crude arrangement. The naira-for-crude scheme was designed to allow Dangote and some local refineries to pay for crude using naira instead of foreign exchange. The idea? Ease dollar pressure on Nigeria's foreign reserves. However, in practice, Dangote was selling petrol in naira at volumes that exceeded the value of crude supplied under that scheme. This created a mismatch. They were giving out more naira-denominated fuel than the crude they had been allowed to buy in naira. 2. Export imperative and dollar realities. Dangote has been ramping up exports of refined products, diesel, naphtha, fuel oil, to international markets. That means a strong pull toward dollar revenues rather than naira. The refinery needs to balance between domestic obligations and maximizing returns from exports in foreign currency. 3. Currency weakness and inflation. Nigeria's naira is under pressure. Inflation is high. Dollars are scarce. If marketers must now source petrol in dollars, costs immediately rise. Independent petroleum marketers, IPMAN, warned that shifts to dollar procurement would almost certainly raise pump prices. 4. What changed behind the scenes? So how was this crisis diffused so quickly? 1. Crude allocation adjustment. The government and relevant committees acted to rebalance the crude for naira allocations so Dangote could justify resuming sales. 2. Political and economic imperative. A sudden fuel price hike would be deeply unpopular. For the government, maintaining social stability and consumer confidence is key. 3. Negotiated pressure. Dangote likely faced heavy pressure, both public and private, to reconsider. The optics of cutting off domestic fuel in naira would be damaging. 4. Short-term remedy, not permanent fix. While the suspension was reversed, the underlying tension remains. How to align crude procurement, often in dollars or under limited naira quotas, with local fuel sales. 5. The aftermath. What this means for Nigerians. 1. Fuel prices. Still under threat. Even though the immediate hike was averted, the specter of a price increase remains. IPMON warned that buying petrol in dollars would raise pump prices significantly. The forced reversal is a temporary relief. If crude allocations tighten again, Dangote might repeat or escalate. 2. Supply stability versus export priorities. Keeping domestic supply in naira may be at odds with Dangote's export ambitions. If export margins remain more lucrative, domestic supply could become a secondary concern. Marketers want assurance. If Dangote shifts sales back to dollars, they must be able to survive. 3. Market confidence and economic signal. The quick resolution signals that the government is still able to act decisively in energy matters, but also that the system hinges on delicate arrangements. Investors, traders, everyday Nigerians will be watching because this is not the first time the refinery has flirted with currency-based disruptions. 4. Precarious balance. Dangote and the government must continuously bridge the gap between currency fluctuations, crude supply logistics, export demand, and domestic affordability. One misstep could reignite the crisis. 6. Critical questions ahead. Can Dangote sustain continued petrol sales in naira without overshooting its crude allocations again? Will the government commit to more stable, guaranteed crude supplies in naira to shield the system from shocks? If Dangote returns to dollar-based sales, how prepared are marketers and consumers to absorb the price shock? Could this episode foreshadow repeated currency-linked disruptions in energy? Who gains long-term? Export revenue focus or safeguarding domestic affordability? 7. Final take. We just witnessed a near meltdown in Nigeria's petrol market when a major refinery threatened to pull the plug on naira pricing, risking a cascade of price hikes, public outcry, and market disruptions. But thanks to swift government intervention, the threat was paused. The reprieve is real, but so are the fault lines. The tension between dollar earnings and naira obligations, export ambitions and domestic duty, and crude supply constraints and consumer welfare are now laid bare. For now, the pump surcharges are held back, but keep a close eye. Slipping back into dollar-priced fuel is just one bluff away. This is not just a fuel story. It's a signal about Nigeria's economic resilience, policy coherence, and how fragile the balance really is behind the scenes.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this update and want to stay informed with fast, reliable news, don't forget to subscribe to Newsflash 360. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a story. Your next headline is just seconds away.